Hi, I'm Aaron Marcus, and welcome back to the Acting and Modeling Success Summit. Hey, we've got Aaron Jackson. Aaron Jackson is a friend of mine who's had just incredible success in this industry, and also is a guy who's just helped so many people in the acting and modeling world. So let me just tell you a little bit about Aaron, and then we're going to get into the session. Aaron Jackson starred in the TV series California Dreams on NBC, as well as in films, commercials, and stage productions. He's also produced several feature films. Aaron is most proud of the work he's done helping aspiring actors break into the acting industry, and he travels the country coaching talent. Aaron has been a successful manager for a number of years and is now representing talent as an agent. And by the way, if you guys ever get a chance, because he does travel a lot and he's coming to your town, take advantage of his seminars. Really, they're phenomenal. Aaron, thank you so much for being here today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Cool. So I wanted to talk with you about memorizing sides. And sides, it's the short portion of the script or copy if you're reading a TV commercial, or even if it's a monologue, it doesn't really make any difference. A lot of times people really have no idea that there are some special techniques and ways of going about doing it. And this is one of the many things that you actually teach in your workshop. So this is really cool that you're going to be able to share some of the ideas with us right here. So maybe you can kind of walk us through the process. Let's say, you get a monologue or you get the sides for TV show. What are some of the first things that you would recommend that people do as soon as they get them?
The first thing that I do, or even when I'm coaching someone to do it, the first thing automatically is to read the script monotone. Don't put any voice inflection on it. Don't put any characterization. Just read it robotic, monotone. Oh, hello. Good to see you. Thank you for coming. I have missed you. Whatever the lines might be. Because what happens when we read it with just a monotone, we're not putting anything into our short term, or we're not putting anything into our long-term memory. We're just hearing the dialogue for the words. The first three things that I teach all of my students is three simple words. I say slower, lower, and listen. And by
I'm sorry,
slower, what
you kind
happens
of,
is
hey Aaron, I'm sorry, you kind of cut out there for 1 second. It was slower, lower, and
listen.
listen.
Yep. And those three words, the way that I use those is basically it's very simple. Most young actors or even experienced actors, generally what they want to do is they want to race the dialogue. Well, when we're racing the dialogue, we don't actually hear the dialogue, and more importantly, we don't actually able to be able to process that dialogue. So what I tell my kids from the first get is to slower, lower, and listen. Once they gravitate and understand that process, then we get into monotoning the script. And like I said, what about monotoning is literally just doing it very robotic, not putting anything into our short-term or even into our long-term memory. Because as you know, Aaron, as an actor, as soon as something goes into your long-term or even short-term memory, it's pretty much there. And however you've done that character, however you've done that voice, it's going to stay that way. And a lot of times we memorize by pattern. We memorize by chunk, or we memorize by rhyme, or by tune, or tonality, or whatever it might be. So I try to take all of that out of the equation off the get-go, and let's just memorize the words for the words. And once we understand those words and memorize those words, then we can start the characterization. And it starts off with that slower, lower, and listen.
And you're talking about reading everybody's lines, not just the lines that you're going to be reading for the audition.
I read from the top of the script to the bottom of the script. If I'm blessed enough as an actor to get the entire script, yes, it takes me an extra 3 hours to do it, but darn it, I'm going to read the entire script in monotone because I'm going to hear it for the words. I'm not going to try to act the script. I'm not going to try to characterize the script. I'm just hearing it for the words. As kids, we heard our parents read us books, and they put on all these characters and the voices. Well, you memorize those characters by the voices that you heard. And as an actor, you can't memorize by the voice that you hear because you can't have a voice until the character is memorized. From my perspective, of course. I mean, there's a lot of different theories and coaches out there that do this, but from mine, you got to have the memorization before you can have the characterization.
Okay, well, it might be really interesting. This is something that I believe you wrote, correct? That I have
Yes.
up on the. Okay, cool. So what I thought was, why don't we play around with this one
Okay.
and let's try out your technique. And do you want me to do it? Would you like to try to do it? It
Well,
doesn't make.
I, Vic, considering it's memorized already by me, I
Oh,
mean,
then I'll do it.
yeah, it wouldn't be fair.
Okay. Okay. I wasn't sure if you still had it memorized, or how long ago it was done. Okay. So, uh, even though, well, this part doesn't have to be in monotone because this is a direction. He's been waiting for a friend to take the gun. That's in front of him, her. The scene picks up in the middle. Tension is high. Okay. So for that, absolutely, I certainly, even though that's not part of what I would be reading, this is crucial information to what's happening here. So I guess I'm kind of asking as I'm doing this. So this is something I'm going to read just to have a better understanding of what's taking place.
Well, I always tell my kids too, and I'm sure that every coach has done this, you've got to have your before story. You need to know what you've got coming into this particular scenario, which even though I know that this is only on memorization right now, but it's key
Well,
to the
please open it
memorization.
up.
Yeah, it's key to the characterization of knowing what happened right before this teen one and teen two. Where were they the moment right before this? What were they talking about? What were the smells? What were the sights? What just happened? Because that brings us, as I would call the energy coming into the scene. And that
Okay.
important information is there.
So I was just going to say, so in this particular situation, assuming I don't know anything else, I mean, this is all that I got for the audition. So for me, uh, basically, I would be making decisions on my own as to what happened. Now, it could be way off base, but at least it's something that will bring some credibility and give me a reason to start saying these things.
Correct.
Okay, so he's been waiting for a friend to take the gun that's in front of him. Okay, so let me know if this would make sense to you. These two guys, they're standing on the corner. They're hanging outside. They just came back from the grocery, not grocery, maybe like some kind of this small store. They're drinking sodas and they're hanging out on the corner. And then all of a sudden, teen says, "Take it." And then teen two does not. "I told you to take it. Take it." Now, am I reading it in a very staccato way as well, or just monotone?
Staccato as well. I mean, either way, you don't want to put any type of characterization or voice inflection on it whatsoever because,
Okay.
again, once you've put the voice in there, that's pretty much how you're going to do it in the future. And 99% of the time, you're going to do it that way. It's not a
Okay.
guarantee, but 99% of the time, you're going to.
Okay. So, and please correct
So
me and stop me.
it would sound like it would.
Go ahead.
Okay.
No, no, no. I was going to let you finish. I was just going to say,
I was
please,
going to say
if you're hearing
the
something that doesn't sound quite right, please stop me and let me know.
I will do
Uh,
that. Okay.
okay, great. So Teen 2 just stares at the gun, does not want to, but feels pressured. No. Teen, what? Are you chicken? You were all tough, and now. Teen 2, you take it. If you think this is not a big deal, then you do it. Teen, you're backing out. Let me scroll down here a little bit to make sure. Confused. Backing out. I guess I am. Teen, you're not all that, man. Finds the strength. No, you're not. Why don't you do it? You have me doing all this stuff you don't want to get caught doing. I'm the one taking the fall every time. And what do you do? What do you do? You say, good job, man. Glad it wasn't me. It's always funny to you. Where are you when I'm in detention or looking at a cop in the face? Where, where are you? And for what? You want to touch the gun. Then you do it. You do it. What? You're scared of touching it. You are. Who's the chicken now? I'm not. Gun goes off. So,
Okay, cut. So
is that
what you
how?
just did there, Aaron, is the hardest thing for. I'm sorry, I
What?
cut you off there.
No, 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 no. I was
What I
waiting for
was
you to finish.
okay. What I was saying was the hardest thing to do as an actor is to not put a voice to it, to not put a character. You kind of feel silly just reading those lines like that. But now, Aaron, to be honest to the audience, you've not read this multiple times, right?
No, I haven't read it at all. I typed it. I did type it up,
Okay.
but I was trying not to pay attention to it. So,
Okay.
no, I have not looked at this.
Okay, so let me ask you some basic comprehension questions right quick.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Irrel- irre- Irrelevant, the first five lines that are in this script. You know, the whole take it, I told you to take it, you're backing out, I guess I am, you're not all that, man. Taking all that out of the equation, let's focus just basically on the meat of the scenario here.
Okay.
Overall, what's going on with Teen One right there? What is his objective in that particular monologue?
Well, he's trying to get Teen 2 to pick up the gun and do something with the gun.
Okay, and Teen One, or excuse me, Teen Two does not. Why? Why doesn't he want to?
That's that's a good question.
Okay,
That's a very good question.
so you haven't comprehended it yet, and that's the point. You're not going to because you've just monotoned it. All you've done is just said those words. They mean nothing to you yet. All they are just a bunch of words with commas, periods, exclamation points, some question marks, and a few quotations here and there, and very little stage directions, as as everyone can see in front of them. When you start breaking it down from that point forward, from where we're at, we've read it once. No, you're not. Why don't you do it? You have me doing all this stuff you don't want to get caught doing. I'm the one taking the fall every time. And what do you do? Let's just talk about those first three sentences right there. Okay? He's saying, you're not all that, man, is what Teen 1 is saying. If the audience looks at this, that teen in this paragraph, that's actually supposed to be Teen 2 saying this. So it's a.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. So I goofed up in here?
Yes, sir. That bottom paragraph is going to be Teen 2.
Oh,
See
that
that?
should be Teen 2.
Yes, sir. I don't know if you can fix that, or if not, just
That's
everyone
okay.
can pretend.
Well,
Yes, sir.
everybody knows it now. And then I can also, yeah, I can take care of that.
Okay. So on that, Teen 2 is saying in there that, no, you're not all that, man. Why don't you do it? You have me doing all this stuff you don't want to get caught doing, and I'm the one taking the fall every time. And what do? That first two lines of that are the hardest to memorize for the simple fact that it's repeating everything that we've already heard in the scenario prior to this. So it's
Hmm.
repetition and repeating, which is hard for us to do because the audience has already heard it once. So therefore we think, oh, well, it's not really that important. So subconsciously, we don't remember it in that order. We're going to remember it in different orders. So by doing it in the monotone, and basically by doing it by word, by period, by comma, by paragraph, etc., we start putting it into pieces, kind of like a puzzle piece. So by going slow in the monotone the first time
Hmm.
through, and then the next time you do it with a little bit of a voice to it, hitting your periods, your question marks, and your commas and your quotations, but still not putting the characterization into it yet. So let's skip all of the back and forth Teen 1 and Teen 2 dialogue, Aaron, and let's just
Okay.
pick it up on that bottom paragraph there, picking up a no, you're not. No characterization, but hit the periods, the question marks, the pauses, and the quotations.
Okay.
So,
No, you're not. Why don't you do it? You have me doing all this stuff you don't want to get caught doing. I'm the one taking the fall every time. And what do you do? What do you do? You say, good job, man. Glad it wasn't me. It's always funny to you. Where are you when I'm in detention or looking at a cop in the face? Where are you? And for what? You want to touch the gun. Then you do it. You do it. What? You're scared of touching it? You are. Who's the chicken now? I'm not. See? Well, certainly it makes a lot more sense that that's team two.
Okay,
First
cut.
of all,
So, yeah, of course. I was like, yeah, it kind of makes more sense. But now what you started doing in there, Aaron, without even realizing that you were doing it, you started putting a character to it. It was slight. It was little. You kind of did your up beats on your question marks, your down beats on your periods, your, slap in the face on the exclamation kind of points.
mm-hmm.
But you probably now have a little bit more idea of the character now, a little bit more idea. Again, we're taking what I would spend an hour on with a student, and we're going to condense it into 20 minutes. So they're not going to get the full effect of it in this 20-minute sort of tutorial, if you will, but they'll get the basics of it. That if we start on simplicity, start as simple as you can. We start by monotoning things. That's what we hear. That's what we register. When we're sick, that's all we hear. When we're tired, that's all we're hear. Unless you're watching Charlie Brown and all you hear is womp, 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 womp. It's kind of the same scenario until we start putting that character together. And characterization and memorization have a lot to do with each other. Those two have got to meet like this. You can't bring a character in and you can't bring memorization in. They've got to meet in the middle together. And that's what I've just started you doing. Because without you realizing it, you started to bring a character into it and you started to memorize it. So now I'm going to give you a little bit more free rein, Aaron. I'm going to give you a little bit more rope, if you will. Now I'm going to give you a little bit more character. You're allowed to have your ups and your down beats, but you can't raise your voice yet. You're not allowed to take anything that's capitalized and raise your voice. Just keep it kind of one tone, not monotone, just kind of keep it right here, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
And maybe what I'll do, just for the sake of time, maybe I'll just do a couple of sentences, just
Yeah,
because probably don't have time
just
to go through the whole
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
just
And
pick
no, you're
just end on glad it wasn't me. Just end
okay.
on that one. It's 4 sentences in.
Yeah. No, you're not. Hey, why don't you do it? You have me doing all this stuff. It's stuff that you don't want to get caught doing, and I'm the one who's taking the fall every time. And what do you do? Yeah. What do you do? Yeah. You say, "Good job, man." Yeah. Glad it wasn't me.
All right, cut. So now we've got a little bit of a character. Now you have chosen as the actor's choice to go a little bit faster. Some decide to go a little bit slower. Again, you'll find out from me and every coach in the industry, there is no such thing as a wrong choice. It's just an uncommitted choice. If you commit to it, the audience is guaranteed to believe it as long as you commit first. I hate to say this, but the audience and anyone that's watching, I don't mean you directly, but the audience, you're stupid because you have no idea what we're fixing to say. You have no idea what the character is, where the character is coming from. So as long as I, as the actor or my scene partner, we believe it first, the audience is guaranteed to believe it second, providing that there's commitment. So by me saying on that choice line that I used for you, Aaron, was you made a fast choice. And it was, no, you're not. Why don't you do it? You got me doing all this stuff that you don't want to get caught doing, and I'm the one taking the fall every time. And what do? What do? You say, good job, man. Glad it wasn't me. So that's kind of like the Brooklyn approach. My approach is a little bit different. I take it more, no, you're not. Why don't you do it? You got me doing all this stuff that you don't want to get caught doing. And I'm the one taking the fall every time. And what do? What do? You say, good job, man. Glad it wasn't me. Again, your choice, my choice, doesn't make one right or wrong. It's going to come down to what the casting director wants to see, more importantly, the director at that time, which is a whole nother 3-hour class that I could talk to you about. But when it comes down to the memorization, now what I've also done for you, Aaron, is you've now heard it twice. And that's the rule number 2 that I do. Once we have monotoned it, and then we've put a little bit of voice inflection and characterization on it, and then I go into the next step of what I do. And that's hear it, process it, respond. Again, I'll repeat that for the audience just in case they're writing it down. Hear it, process it, respond. So what I have all of my students do is I have somebody else read them their lines. Not as a character, just read them the lines. Just, what do? You have me doing all this stuff that you don't want to get caught doing. I'm the one taking the fall every time. And what do? What do? You say, good job, man. Glad it wasn't me. I haven't put a character into your mind yet. All I've done is just put the words back into your head. So you're hearing it. While you're hearing it, you're also processing it. And once you've processed it, you're going to now come back and you're going to start responding. So now let me recap back to the beginning. Slower, lower, and listen. You slow down the dialogue, you lower that voice, and you listen to the dialogue. Not listen to it through the ears, but listen to what the dialogue is telling us. Understand, comprehend it. Once we have that, we hear it, we process it, we respond to it. So everything I do comes in threes, the way that I coach. Everything's in threes. Good, bad, and evil. It's in threes. So try it now, Aaron, if you wouldn't mind for me. Doing it again, taking it to the same place. Now put on a full character. Like what you feel is your choice for the character. And let's see. Try to do it without looking if you can, or if you want one more time to read it, while we're doing it, try it that way, and then we'll try it without it.
Yeah, I guess the hard part is I'm just feeling, unfortunately, just for the lack of time, I'm gonna try it like one time, and maybe I'll just do maybe a sentence or two.
That's fine. Yeah,
yeah.
That's cool.
Why don't you do it? You have me doing all this stuff. Now I'm going to have to take a peek. Hey, stuff that you don't want to do, you don't want to get caught doing. Now, I guess one of the questions that I have as somebody who's trying to memorize it without looking at the words, how do you feel about somebody changing some of the words as they're starting to memorize it? I would tend to think that might be problematic, that it would probably be better
Of course it
to
is. That's
pause, look at it, and make sure that you got the words so you're not beginning to memorize the wrong words and then having to unlearn the wrong words.
And that you're 100% correct, Aaron, because it's so hard to reverse what you've been taught. You can't go backwards on memorization. The only way to go backwards is to literally go back to what I've just done and go back to monotoning it. Literally go back to the beginning and starting from scratch. You did correct. You did the first two lines into the camera, right? And then the next two lines, you're like, oh, you know what? I need to look. Now, obviously, in the middle of rehearsing, you're not going to go, da-da-da-da, oh, I've got to look at my lines, and then go back to here, and then come back to it. You're going to do it, you're going to go back to it, and then you're going to come forward with it. So what you're doing is you're not breaking the number one rule, and you're not breaking your character. You're not breaking, you're staying in character the entire time. So it's, again, memorization is so hard to do because we've got, our mind is going all over the place at certain times. You need a quiet room. You need the best time of the day for you to be able to do that in. For me, I'm a night owl. Aaron, I know you're not. I know you're a morning person because you do commercials left and right. So you're doing 4 a.m. calls. When you get into film and television, brother, regularly, we get later calls.
Hey, Aaron, so it's just so that people hey, so just so people know, so like once they've done that process, what would be the next step?
On the memorization side of it?
Yeah.
Now where we're at here, I would take it after I've heard it, processed it, and responded to it. Now that's me working with a partner or even by myself, recording it into a phone device so I can just play it back to listen. After I've done that, then I would try to sit down with a blank piece of paper without the script, without anything, and I would try to write my dialogue out. Recall as much of it from memory as I can. Even if I've got a couple of holes in there, try to write it out. Oh, wait, I know there's a line that goes right here, but I'm gonna leave a space there because I'm going to come back. I know it's there, but I can't remember what it is, and I'm going to continue on. And then you come back and you hold these two together and you say, oh, okay, well, there's that one, there's this one. I'm pretty good. Now, as you know, Aaron, and a lot of the folks watching might not know, sometimes turnaround is less than 24. Sometimes it's less than 12. So sometimes you just got to get in there and you got to dig your heels in deep and get it down as quick as possible. Now, I have one other thing that I do, which I'll share with you. I know we're on a time crunch here, but I'll share with you. I do bullet points. I'll go through and I'll find out what is the most important thing in this that I've got to get out there. I'm not saying rewrite it. I'm just saying bullet points that I can use. Like in this particular one, the main job is, why don't you do it? That's a bullet point for me, because I know, and what do you do is going to come after, and why don't you do it? Because why and why and what. On this particular one, there's a why, there's a what, there's a where, so, and then it goes into you and you. So I start remembering it that way. I'll start giving myself a bullet word. Okay, why is my first one. Okay, so now I know it goes why. My next major transition is going to be a what. My next one thereafter is going to be a where. Then my next one after that is going to be you, and then you, and that's it. And I know that that seems kind of backwards, but now I've got the beginning of my sentence, and I go, why? Why don't you do it? And what do you do?
Those are great ideas.
You know, and so we use bullet point words. We all did that as kids when we were studying. You know, everyone taught us abbreviations. You know, with math, we learned "Pretty please, my dear Aunt Sally," which was parentheses and then multiplication, blah 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 blah. I don't know what it stands for, but I remember the abbreviated "Pretty please, my dear Aunt Sally."
Right.
You know, or Roy G. Biv. The same thing
Right.
with the rainbow colors. We learn that way. We learn patterns. So
That,
that's one of my
that's a
ways.
great idea. Yeah, because it gives you a real structure, and it gives you a place to go to, and you can really hang your hat on certain things, and you know it's coming up as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I know later on I'll give out my website, but on my website I have a full breakdown of what it is, of what I've just basically explained. I've got a full breakdown on there that they can go and sort of, some people are readers, that they need to physically see it out in front of them instead of hearing it. So, you know, again, it's out there, it's free for everybody just to learn, you know, so it's there
Cool.
for them.
Hey, Aaron, I'm gonna have that website given out in just a second. Let me just try to get to at least one question. I know we're really running out of time. Um, Basically, let me grab this one from Gail in Dallas. Would it be helpful for me to practice memorizing non-script materials as well? Which I thought that was an interesting question.
Okay, you broke up on the question. I heard it's
Oh,
Gail
okay.
from Dallas.
Yeah, she wanted to know if it would be helpful to try memorizing things that weren't necessarily scripts, just as a way of, teaching her brain how to memorize things. I'm assuming she means, whether it's a newspaper article or a magazine article, that's not necessarily a script. Would that still be helpful?
Gail from Dallas, that is one of the best questions you can ask, because it is true. It sounds crazy, but we all have our kind of focus time, if you will. Some is the morning, some it's night. I would take a paragraph out of the newspaper, or something out of a magazine when I was in between shows, and I would just read it over and over. I would monotone it and I would memorize it. Why, I don't know. I can tell you what is in cornflakes because I've read that corner of the box so many times that I memorize it now. But yes, that does help, because it's like anything. You've got to exercise the mind. If you don't exercise the memorization side of it, it's not going to continue to be there. I know when I go on hiatus, we would do 39 shows a season is what we were doing, anywhere between 26 and 39. But then we'd have off like 18 weeks. Dude, my brain would go, and it would shut down for me. So it was like I had to retrain myself to get back into memorization, because the episodic world, Aaron, it's rough. You get a script on Monday, 58 pages later on Friday with rewrites every day. You have no choice but to get something memorized quick.
That's incredible. Hey, Aaron, listen, I want to thank you so much. I wish we had, 10 more hours we could do this. Please, would you give out the website where people can get a hold of you, learn more about you as well?
Sure. My personal website is theaaronjackson.com. TheAaron Jackson, JackSon.com. Everything's on there about my coaching style and what it is that I do, and all kinds of just great information. And then my agency's website is simplythinktalent.com. SIMPLY think, THINK, talent, TALENT.com. either one of those, you can find me on Facebook under both of those, Aaron Jackson or Simply Think Talent.
Cool. Aaron, thank you so much. And once again, if you ever find Aaron coming to your area, or you can work with him, via Skype as well, take advantage of his experiences, his knowledge, and his graciousness. He's a great guy, and he's really very talented. Aaron, thank you so much. We're going to take a very short break. You can still send in more questions. I'm going to stick around until the very end of the day and then continue to answer any questions that come in. So anyhow, thanks again, and look forward to talking with you soon.